Tez is different. You know, he's had a tough road. You know, everybody knows the story. You don't got to explain that, but just need him out there. I know it's just something that means you got guys out there transferred 3 and 4 times playing, and Tez out here done it the right way, and he's not getting rewarded.
That was UNC quarterback Drake May after UNC's win this past Saturday. He was disappointed then that the NCAA wouldn't allow his teammate Tez Walker to play on that day. Now the NCAA has ruled that Walker is ineligible this entire season and will have to sit out until next year. UNC head coach Mack Brown lit into the NCAA in a statement saying in part, quote, "The NCAA has failed Tez and his family, and I've lost all faith in its ability to lead and govern our sport. They've messed so many things up as it relates to college football, and now their failures have impacted negatively the life of one of our own." This story is so involved and better understood when put into its proper context. WRAL's Luis Fernandez shows us how we got to this point.
UNC planned on making former Kent State wide receiver Tez Walker a focal point of its offense. But now he's been declared ineligible for the rest of the season. To give context to the decision, we need to go back to 2019 at the beginning of his collegiate career. He signed with East Tennessee State, but his signing was deferred when he tore his ACL before arriving on campus. He signed with North Carolina Central, but then came the COVID-19 pandemic and the season was canceled. From there, he transferred to Kent State, where he played in 20 games, finishing this past season with 921 receiving yards and 11 touchdowns. His head coach left this past December, then he transferred to UNC. In early January, the NCAA updated its guidelines for second-time transfers, making it more difficult to get immediate eligibility.
He enrolled in classes on January 9th, and then the NCAA changed the rule January 11th.
Brown said part of the reason he came back to North Carolina was to play in front of his grandmother for the first time.
He's really struggling, and that's why we're coming out and saying this.
You know, he leaned his head on my shoulder and started crying. And I'm like, what's going on? I said, Coach, I hope I get to play football. I did everything that I was supposed to do.
Now, after today's ruling came down, a slew of reaction poured out from all over, including from 99.9 The Fan's Tim Donnelly.
It's time to stop talking about the reasons why he should be eligible and start talking about the ramifications that the NCAA is not observing and probably hasn't even realized they just caused with this decision. If Drake May turns pro after this year, like everyone expects, Tez Walker may never get to play with him. Playing with Drake May, maybe Tez looks like he's an NFL player. Maybe that turns him into a draft pick. Maybe it turns him into a high draft pick. Now, because you've robbed him of the opportunity to play, maybe he's not a draft pick next year. Maybe you just literally took life-changing money out of his pocket.
Even our governor, Roy Cooper, chimed in with his opinion on social media. He said, quote, "The NCAA is now the Wild West, so it's disappointing that the boot comes down on a young man victimized by a bizarre interpretation of a late rule change. Instead of unfair attempts to assert its relevancy, the NCAA needs new priorities." Read all about this story right now on WRALSportsFan.com.